So the million-dollar question, why do people get sick? What is the true cause of disease? And I'm going to make a list of acid-forming foods. The most alkaline-forming food.
Imagine your body as a fortress, constantly under siege by disease. What if the key to strengthening its defenses wasn't some fancy potion, but what you put on your plate? In this video, Barbara reveals the 8 enemy agents, acid-forming foods, that can weaken your inner defenses. So, by learning to identify and avoid these dietary foes, you can transform your body into a disease-fighting powerhouse naturally. But before we jump into the avoid list, let's do a quick pit stop to understand what acid-forming foods even means.
Acid-forming foods create an acid condition.
Acid-forming foods are sneaky culprits that can throw your inner balance out of whack. These foods are high in acid-building minerals like phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine. So, which ones are the top offenders? Let's break them down.
Meat in its nature, when it's broken down to food and taken into the energy cycles in your cell, is very acid-forming.
1. Meat. This might surprise you, but red meat and processed meats are some of the biggest culprits in the Western diet. They're loaded with protein and phosphorus, which can tip the scales towards acidity in your body. Remember Dr. Colin Campbell's research on turning cancer cells on and off with diet? The amount of meat and dairy the rats ate played a major role. Beyond messing with your body's pH, red meat and processed meats have been linked to other health concerns. They're generally high in saturated fat, which can raise your bad cholesterol and increase your risk of heart disease. Processed meats are also packed with sodium, which can contribute to high blood pressure. While our bodies need protein, too much red meat can put a strain on your kidneys, which are responsible for filtering waste. 2. Wheat. Now, this one's a bit complex. Wheat is a dietary staple. It's in everything from pasta to bread. But here's a surprising fact. The wheat we consume today might be different from what our ancestors enjoyed. This difference might be linked to a rise in gluten intolerance, a condition that causes discomfort and bloating in many people. Let's take a trip back in time. The original wheat, sometimes called einkorn, had a very delicate gluten structure, almost like a fragile web. Then, somewhere around a few thousand years ago, something interesting happened. This einkorn wheat took a walk on the wild side and crossed paths with a field grass. The result? A new strain called emmer wheat. This emmer wheat had a tougher gluten structure, but still manageable for most folks. Fast forward to the 1950s. Scientists took emmer wheat and put it through intensive breeding, creating the hybridized wheat that dominates our grocery shelves today. This modern wheat boasts a super complex gluten structure, like a tangled mess compared to its ancestors. Here's where things get interesting. Many people struggle to break down this complex gluten. It's almost like their bodies aren't equipped to handle this new wheat strain. This difficulty in digestion might explain the rise in gluten intolerance we see today. Think about it. By the 1990s, everything from cookies to cereal was packed with this new hybridized wheat. Farmers loved it because it produced way more grain, which helped feed a growing population. But in the rush to increase yields, safety studies on this new wheat weren't conducted. So, while we can't definitively say the new wheat causes gluten intolerance, the lack of research and the rise in gut issues raise a red flag. It's important to listen to your body and choose wheat products that make you feel good, not bloated and foggy.
Caffeine. All your caffeine foods and drinks have an acid effect in the body, as can be seen by where Coke sits. One of the dangers too with caffeine is that it not only has this acid effect, but it leaches calcium and magnesium out of the body.
Next up on our hit list of acid-forming foods is everyone's favorite pick-me-up caffeine. That morning cup of joe or your afternoon tea break might be a delicious ritual, but here's the thing. Caffeine can have an acidic effect on your body. Imagine your body as a complex balancing act. It constantly strives to maintain a neutral pH level, kind of like a healthy internal environment. But when you pile on acidic foods like animal protein, processed stuff, and yes, caffeine, it throws a wrench into this delicate system. Here's why. To neutralize all that extra acid, your body has to pull out the big guns. It's alkaline minerals like magnesium, calcium, potassium, and even sodium. Think of these minerals as your body's natural buffering system. The more acidic foods you eat, the more these minerals get used up, leaving you vulnerable to chronic health problems down the line. That's why moderation is key when it comes to caffeine. And let's face it, caffeine often comes paired with its sugary sidekick. That's a double whammy of acid and sugar, not exactly a recipe for internal harmony. So, ditch the killer label for now. But remember, enjoying your favorite caffeinated beverage in moderation is the way to go. After all, a happy and balanced body is a healthy body. Next up on our list of acid-forming foes, the one and only, sugar. Now this might seem strange. Sugar itself is actually neutral on the pH scale. But here's the twist. It's all about how your body processes it. When you indulge in sugary treats, your liver takes center stage, breaking down the sugar. This process creates byproducts like lactic acid and acetic acid, which tilt the pH balance towards acidity. It's like tipping the scales. But that's not all. Sugar also depletes your body's reserves of alkaline minerals like calcium, magnesium, and potassium. These are the good guys that help neutralize acids. Think of them as your body's natural buffering system. High sugar intake throws a wrench in this system, causing your body to pull these minerals from other sources, like your bones, and even make you lose them through urine. On top of that, sugar disrupts the harmony in your gut. It fuels the growth of acid-producing bacteria, further tipping the scales towards an acidic environment. And as if that wasn't enough, sugar can also trigger inflammation, which creates even more acidic byproducts. It's a domino effect. Now here's a surprising addition to the list.
Aged cheese. What's the blue in the blue vein cheese? The blue in the blue vein cheese is mold. So all your aged cheese, they have their flavor because of the yeast.
5. Aged cheese. That blue cheese you love? The blue veins are actually mold. The only cheeses that might escape the acidic label are fresh cheeses like cottage cheese or ricotta. But even these come with a caveat. They're often made with milk from cows raised on questionable diets, potentially containing unwanted chemicals. In general, dairy gets a side eye when it comes to acid formation. This is because dairy products are high in protein and phosphorus, both of which turn acidic during digestion. They create compounds that your body needs to neutralize or get rid of, putting a strain on your kidneys. Think of your kidneys as hard-working filters, and too much acid can make their job a lot harder. So, milk is slightly acidic. Cheese can range from moderately to very acidic depending on the type. And yogurt falls on the slightly acidic side as well. Now, before we hit the panic button and ditch all acidic foods, let's take a deep breath. The label of acidic or alkaline doesn't necessarily translate directly to bad or good for your health. The magic lies in balance. A healthy diet includes a mix of both types of foods. Think of it like yin and yang. A harmonious blend is key.
Alcohol is not a food, but it creates an acid condition. Tobacco is not a food, but it also creates an acid condition in the body.
Now let's move back to talk about some other sneaky acid formers. Alcohol. While not technically a food, alcohol creates an acidic environment in your body. This is because it breaks down into a substance called acetaldehyde, which is a bit of a villain, a neurotoxin, or, in simpler terms, a brain toxin, not something we want floating around upstairs. 7. Tobacco. Similar story here. Tobacco isn't a food, but it also contributes to an acidic environment. So, if you're looking to create a healthy inner world, these two are best enjoyed sparingly, if at all, finding the right ratio. But you don't have to banish all acidic foods from your life. The goal is to find the right balance. Ideally, your diet should be about 70 to 80% alkaline forming and 20% acid forming. Think of it like a delicious, healthy pie chart. And guess what fills the majority of that pie chart? You guessed it, the good things like greens, legumes, and nuts. These powerhouses are naturally alkaline forming and will help create that healthy internal environment. However, there's a catch within these categories too. Some grains, legumes, and nuts actually lean towards the acidic side. But let's leave this discussion for another day. So, are you surprised by any of the acid-forming foods we discussed? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments section. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when the next wave of defense strategies are revealed. Remember, a healthy you is an unstoppable you. Let's keep building that inner fortress together. Until next time, stay strong and be well.